Good morning. It is Saturday, December 7th, 2024. Partly sunny day so far here in northeast Iowa. Temperatures up into the high 20s. Going to warm up today, and that's nice after the cold days we've had. Today is the anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor, which began the United States' entry into the Second World War. That took place on December 7th, 1941, which was a Sunday, and was a surprise attack. Also today is the feast day of St. Ambrose of Milan. Ambrose was a 4th century bishop in northern Italy. He was known for his theological works, especially against his opposition to Arianism. Arianism in the early church was a theology that gained widespread acceptance that stated that Jesus was not the Son of God, but rather a creation of God, not God himself. And Ambrose and many of the early church fathers struggled against that mightily. And it is important that we remember that it is always a challenge to the faith to hold firm to what has been handed to us by the apostles. Each and every age has its own heresy, if you will, or an attempt to explain the faith in a new way that leads away from Christ and from what God has done through him and in him. And it is up to the church to be faithful in all ages. And St. Ambrose is an example of that faithfulness, a striving to keep the Holy Trinity as the center of the faith, that Jesus is truly God and truly man, and our salvation is wrought by and through him. And we hold fast to that. Tomorrow will be the second Sunday of Advent, and the scriptures are pointing us to preparation for the anticipation of Jesus' coming. Our Old Testament lesson from Malachi is from chapter 3, which Malachi talks about the forerunner, the one who will come before the great day of the Lord, who will make the straight paths and the low and the high places level. Malachi is the last of the prophets in the Old Testament, and we hold on to that. Our second reading is not a psalm text, but rather comes to us from the Gospel of Luke. It is the song of Zechariah. Zechariah was the father of John the Baptist and was mute because he did not believe that Elizabeth was going to give birth to John, and so the Lord told him he would not be able to speak until John was born. And immediately after John's birth and Zechariah naming him as John, his voice was opened and he sang a hymn of praise. It's a beautiful hymn and we treasure it. Our epistle lesson comes to us from Paul's letter to the Philippians, Paul's loving letter to that good church at Philippi, reminding them of how much he treasures them and how they have been faithful in Christ, an example for churches everywhere. And finally, the gospel lesson from Luke chapter 3 is the coming of the John the Baptist. But also Luke sets us in the midst of historical persons and events. Luke was very intentional in his gospel, seeking out those times and places in which he could corroborate the world around him with what God had done in Jesus Christ. Luke was writing for a primary Gentile audience, that is to say, people who were non-Jewish, and he did a job of explaining not only the purpose of the Messiah, but some of the customs and traditions of the Jews, so that it became more understandable for those Gentile converts who were coming to Christianity. It is a very helpful gospel to read, and it is also the beginning of the ministry of Jesus, John the Baptist, the forerunner. Worship services tomorrow will be 8:30 at First and 10:30 at St. Paul's. Sunday school in both congregations will be at 9:30. There will be Holy Communion at First Lutheran, and also there will be live streaming of both services on the parish Facebook page, First and St. Paul Lutheran churches. As tomorrow is Sunday, I will not get a video out tomorrow, but I'll be back on Monday. I hope to see you in worship, and if you can't be there, I hope that I can see you online. I look forward to seeing you all again, and until then, goodbye now.